Okay, it's about 7:02, so we're going to get started. It's a welcome, everyone. I'm Caitlin Hall. I'm the director of the Maywood Public Library, and I'm the co-chair of the Trustee Development Committee. I'd like to welcome you to our program tonight on behalf of my co-chair, Tom Madru, and the rest of the Trustee Development Committee. We're excited for you guys all to be here. We're going to learn about the value of buckles to your library. And to get us started tonight, I'm going to introduce to you the current president of Buckles and the director of the Maurice M. Pine Library in Fairlawn, New Jersey, Adele Puccio.
Thank you, Caitlin. I want to thank all of you for coming here tonight. Trustees are the guiding force behind their libraries, and they bring a lot of knowledge, which helps them advocate for their libraries. And we hope that tonight this will add to your knowledge so that you can continue to advocate for your library. You know the needs of your community very well, and we know that you are striving to do the best that you can for your libraries in these times. So we thank you, and I will turn it back to Caitlin so that she can introduce the others. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Adele. Thank you for being with us tonight. Just before we get started, before I introduce our speakers tonight, just a couple of reminders. Please make sure you're muted. You can say mute on the bottom of your screen. There is a Q&A box on the bottom right of your screen. If you have any questions during the presentation, please feel free to type them in there. At the end of the presentation, there will be a chance to unmute and ask questions. The program will be recorded. And without further ado, let's get going. So I'd like to introduce tonight our two speakers, Buckles Executive Director, Dave Hanson, and the Buckles Director of Information Technology, Eric Lozauskas.
Thank you, Caitlin. It's a pleasure to be with our trustees here today. I always like to thank you and remind everybody, we can't literally do what we do without you. You willing to give up your time and sit on the boards that literally govern what we think is one of the most important pieces of your community, the public library, is certainly something that we always celebrate when we come together. Tonight, we're going to talk about the value of buckles to your library. And as it says, it's a program for the trustees. And this is really about talking about value, because I know for most of you, if not all of you are here today, buckles is your biggest bill. And a lot of times when we talk money, people want to know, what am I getting for that money? And tonight we hope to show you a little bit about what that value is in your buckles bill. Just to reiterate some reminders, please stay muted when you're not speaking. This helps us to avoid background noise and helps everybody listen. We also want to let you know that if you have questions along the way, or if you have questions now, we had some folks send in questions earlier, please type them in the Q&A box. We will get to them at the end. We're going to do questions at the end of the presentation, so don't worry if we don't get to it right away. I promise we're going to stay and answer all the questions that we possibly can, all right? And so with that, let's talk about what our topics that we're going to be covering. I know these are scintillating to an executive director. Hopefully these are scintillating to you as a trustee. We're going to talk a little bit about the Buckles strategic plan. We're going to talk about delivery services. Then we're going to turn to a heavy focus on our technology. We'll tell you what your return on investment for your shared technology purchases. We'll introduce you to our new product, Buckles Connect, as well as our new being rolled out Vega and mobile pieces that we're super excited about. We'll talk to you a little bit about the available technology. And we're going to end the evening talking about ebooks, something that everybody learned a lot more about during the last couple of years. But we begin where we always begin, with the strategic plan. Your library has a strategic plan, so does Buckles. And I want you to know that one of the first things I did, I've been here a little over 3 years now, and that was to get started on the strategic plan. Our current one goes through 2025. We're roughly about one half of the way, and that's because you usually build in some, we have some time that's built in at the end for transition. We got 6 outcomes, and just so you know, it does take a long time to do it, and our next round of planning starts in 2022, which is only 2 short years away. The big things to know is that we have 6 outcomes, and these are really important to us. I'm going to highlight a couple. They're all really important, but the ones that I think are pretty apropos for our conversation today is, one, And these are things that we take incredibly seriously. Ensure mandated service are fiscally responsible or fiscally sustainable for the organization and all member libraries. That means when we get together every year to do budget with our finance committee from executive board, that we spend a lot of time thinking not just what we need to operate as a cooperative, but we also think about what that impact is going to be on member libraries. And I will tell you, one of the great examples of this was in 2021, we knew there was a lot of impact from pandemic. And Buckles was the only library consortium in the state of New Jersey to go with a flat budget year over year. We took a look, and in those conversations with the finance committee, we really thought about how difficult the environment was, how much uncertainty it was, and we felt it was really, really important to have a flat budget, and that's what we did. A couple of others, I'm just going to note 5, increase education and participation in Buckles activities among all levels. That's kind of what we're doing here today. That's about shared professional development, folks. So you're participating in outcome 5. So if you wanted to know how you fit in with the strategic plan, please know there is outcome 5. The other big financial one is outcome 6, which is have financial stability and the means to respond to anticipated and unforeseen circumstances and the ability to pursue new opportunities to advance the cooperative. Now, that's a big, long sentence, I know. But what that really is talking about is we created a capital fund. And that capital fund is designed to really smooth over some of our costs, meaning that when we would have a big project, whether it was some infrastructure piece, we would oftentimes have to do that on a 2 or 3 year basis where your bill might go up in a particular setting because we weren't really having a capacity to have a capital fund where we can make those things, we can make the relative wave of expense a little bit flatter, and then hopefully has less impact on your particular budget. So that's the strategic plan. We really enjoy working with that. We like to talk about it. It's how we are as an organization. And whenever we set out to do stuff, I want you to know this is the first place we go. And this is the thing that we think about. But again, I come back to outcome 1. And I will tell you, being in the rooms with the strategic planning committee, this was their number 1 priority, was to make sure we are fiscally sustainable for the organization and all member libraries. Now, one of the things that we also do is delivery services, which you're probably all aware of and hopefully you all enjoy. And this is a relatively new thing. This was actually voted in right as I came in, and we got it up to go with. What you should know you get out of this is a shared delivery service. This is unique in New Jersey. There is no other consortium that has it. The only places that provide this kind of delivery system are places like Newark and Jersey City in their things. And I'm not really sure that they even can do 48-hour turnaround like we can. So if a book is on the shelf, usually within 48 hours, it is to wherever it is supposed to go. We are a small staff to do all of these. And you can see we move a ton of items. And what's interesting is we do it all out of a 5,000 square foot warehouse. When we originally got into this, we thought we were going to have this massive structure. We're doing it at a very small scale in terms of how we're able to do it. And Christine Zenny and her team do an amazing job of making sure that the materials are in the libraries, not in the warehouse. Now, we do an annual member survey each year when we ask each member library, how's it going? And we take that to improve. I will tell you that this year, as part of the strategic plan, we're doing a wholesale review of all the operations just to make sure everything is going well. So that is what we do with delivery service. Now I'm going to turn it over to Eric, and he is going to take you through some of the technology pieces.
All right. Thank you, Dave. Good evening, everyone. My name is Eric Lozauskas. As I mentioned, I'm the IT director here at Buckles. I oversee the IT services and products that we provide and support for the member libraries. These include the computers, the networks, the Integrated Library System, or ILS for short, and several web-based products that I'll mention throughout the presentation. Prior to tonight's meeting, we shared with you all a file called Buckles Consortium Value Report, which I hope you'll take some time to read through. It's full of valuable information on just how much libraries save by being a member of Buckles. I'm going to go through and highlight a few of these areas. One of the larger complex systems that libraries have to utilize are called integrated library systems. These ILS products are what help libraries have a digital presence for their catalogs. stores all materials and items in a database. It also stores patron records, information about loan periods, fines, even handles the billing for when those items become overdue or lost. Every library needs some sort of ILS product to manage what they do, similar to how any retail establishment needs a point of sale system to sell products. These ILS products are often very expensive and may require staffing to maintain and support, as well as catalog the material that goes into the system. This isn't simply just data entry. It requires knowledgeable professionals who are familiar with cataloging standards. So, through a shared use of a single ILS by all of our member libraries and buckles, as well as shared ILS administrators and catalogers, the staff, member libraries are able to save quite a bit of money. Let's say a library were able to license an ILS product and cataloging records, and they piece together the skill set from their existing staff. Their bill would still be approximately $36,000 annually. By comparison, the lowest ILS portion of any Buckles bill is just over $22,000. And the savings only go up from there with some libraries with larger collections or larger populations. They can save nearly $200,000 by not having to have the additional staff and resources to maintain their own system by being a member of Buckles. So the savings continue to go up when you start to examine shared collections. Our system has 5.2 million items held throughout all the member libraries. The average collection has about 68,000 items. The largest collection is about 188,000. So even the largest libraries still benefit from an enormous amount of material that their patrons have access to by being a member of Buckles. The average amount borrowed last year, and this was during a pandemic, of course, was 12,400 items per library from other member library collections. So these are materials that were either additional copies that provided faster access for the patrons, or they were materials that were not owned by any of those libraries. So taking this benefit of shared collections into account, combined with the savings for the ILS software, average libraries save about $190,000 a year by being a member of Buckles. In addition to this, we also offer managed IT services. Some of these are required and some are optional. That member libraries can take advantage of these for even greater savings. We provide managed PCs for the libraries and are able to negotiate volume pricing directly with the manufacturers. An individual library may be able to save a little bit on PCs if they find a sale, but generally they can't get volume discounts on 10 or maybe 20 PCs that they might be purchasing. Each year, we negotiate pricing on somewhere between 250 to 300 computers. Just this last year, this brought us a savings of nearly $200 per PC. And we're able to have the same model of PC available throughout the entire year as we rolled out these purchases and upgrades. Just a couple years ago, we also started offering managed iPads as well. You might be familiar with Apple's pricing and how hard it is to negotiate or even find a sale on an Apple product, but we managed to get them a few dollars cheaper and obtain nearly $100 in savings per iPad on the management software licensing and ongoing support. So we're able to provide a pretty good value to the member libraries. Telecom is another costly area for most libraries and businesses in general. We negotiate pricing on internet contracts for the member libraries and their Buckles networks. We install and manage firewalls, switches, telecom stuff that makes the networks function at each member library. During our last round of upgrades, when we installed brand new Aruba firewalls, it had the latest and greatest intrusion detection, prevention systems, all the things that you need to protect your networks. We're able to save $1,380 per library just as a result of volume negotiations. We also save money on software licensing. When you are able to negotiate pricing for 1,400 copies of a piece of software, you tend to be able to get larger discounts. And the management software that we have on all Buckles PCs is no exception. Antivirus software, remote management, support applications, we're able to save almost $150 per PC each year. That's multiplied over 1,400 computers. That's a lot of savings. So as you can see, there's a lot of significant savings and return on investment by being a Buckles member library. And this is really just scratching the surface. So please do take a look at that document that we shared with you all. So we talked about some specific examples of how libraries obtain value in being a member of Buckles, whether it's through the ILS, shared collection, or technology. But we also have a lot of innovation happening at Buckles as well. Recently, we licensed a brand new product called Happio, which is an intranet solution built on the Google platform. This is a place that we can use to store and share information among staff, host resources, and be able to distribute reports and statistics to our member libraries. Most companies have some sort of intranet solution in place in order to communicate with their staff, but we're a bit unique in that every member library has their own staff. So taking this into account, when we were trying to determine the best solution for our intranet, we wanted something robust enough to handle all the ways that we interact with our member libraries. Those libraries interact with each other, and of course, those libraries interact with their own staff. So the best option in our case was Hapio, which we selected and branded as Buckles Connect. We had specific goals in mind, looking at our core needs for this type of product. First, we wanted to enable committee collaboration. We wanted to make sure that our solution helped committee members work together to create and continue the great work that they do for the organization. Transparency and availability of information. We want to make sure that it's easy as possible to have all the important information shared from and stored in a single location. Ease of use for maintaining the structure and updating content. Since the platform is fully integrated with Google, all of our existing settings, email accounts, everything are all part of this system. So the content is easy to update, and it's basically as simple as working with files in Google Drive. Searchability. Not only do we get the power of Google searching for important articles, documents, minutes, etc., we get cross-application searching among all the Google products that we use. Reliability and performance. We, of course, needed a product that had enterprise-level support and stability. And then integration with existing systems. In terms of email and collaboration, we're extensively a Google organization, so it only made sense to search out platforms that best support what we currently use. So we wanted to make sure we highlight the work of our many committees. So there's a section entirely devoted to them. This is a screenshot that shows you what that looks like. Library staff can see what committees exist, what they do. They can read their minutes, agendas, see what the charges are for that year, and they can also make use of all the content produced and shared by the committees. For example, the tech committee shares tech tips with the organization, and policies and procedures sends useful reminders and teaches us all new ways to use the ILS. I could talk for hours about the amount of work adult services and youth services do, but in short, they provide so much value to the organization. In order to support the work the committees do, we wanted to make sure that they had all of the tools they need to collaborate and meet virtually. Each committee has their own area within Buckles Connect where they can interact, they can share documents, they can work on projects together. It gives them the tools they need to be more effective. One other area I want to share with you is the way we re-envisioned statistics. We redesigned this and how it's stored and shared within the organization. They are now available within Buckles Connect on easy-to-navigate pages. They're stored in a folder structure that's easy to understand. As you can see here, they're labeled with the years 2022, 2021. And also we labeled each type of statistic and provided a brief description so that staff accessing these stats will know what they're looking at. So for example, what we see here is the circulation cumulative monthly report. And the description reads, this report builds on the monthly circulation report, which is emailed to the library each month. The data is cumulative for the year, compares with the previous year, and totals include circulation counts from eBuckles. So right there, it told the staffer to expect the statistics that they're viewing to include e-materials like downloadable ebooks, etc. So that leaves us with mention of the implementation timeline. Setting up a system of this complexity and properly onboarding all of the staff at all the member libraries takes time. So our plan has been to onboard committees in the second quarter of 2022, and that's nearly complete. They're able to work together inside this new platform, and all their minutes and agendas are located there. Then we have a bit of work to do to re-envision how the directors will use this system, and they should be onboarded fourth quarter of 2022. And then in 23 and 24, we will finish onboarding the remainder of the library staff. So that was just an example of something that primarily affects library staff and our own internal operations. But there are also some very big things happening that will affect patrons that are coming soon. One of these items was within the strategic plan. It stated that we were to evaluate the potential for a Buckles-wide app. And this app would potentially provide patrons with access to searching the catalog, checking out materials, searching for e-content, displaying their library barcode when they're at the library, and more. What we discovered when we started researching options for a Buckles app was that a great deal of value in the app had to do with how good it could search, like the searchability inside the app. This led us to evaluate other options for a better online catalog at the same time. The catalog is really what powers the search, whether it be through the catalog itself or searching in the app. So after evaluating several options with the tech committee, the organization agreed to go with a new product, still in development, from the same company that makes our ILS. This product is called Vega, and it provides an entire suite of software that centers around the patron experience. We were able to license several modules that you can see here. We licensed Discover, Interact, Promote, as well as their mobile app product, all for the cost of just one of those products. So we were able to negotiate a really amazing price on that for the entire organization. Additionally, we were able to become development partners with Innovative on this new suite of products. This allows us the opportunity to test the modules during development, participate in focus groups, and we can help prioritize when features get developed. It's great being able to provide that feedback during the entire process. So let's take a look at just a few of the really amazing features coming with this new Discover product. So Discover will soon be replacing our online catalog. It features search results similar to what you would experience on Amazon or other websites. While our existing catalog would come up with a number of results when you search for, let's say, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, for example, you may have to scroll down a few times to find the large print version that you're looking for or the book on CD. With the new Discover product, it has what's called roll-up views. And these views group together multiple material types in a single result in the search. So instead of having several different materials all throughout the search results where you're scrolling around trying to find what you need, the patron will see a grouped result with tabs for each material type across the top. This is a lot more familiar of a user experience that people have started to expect. Additionally, if you notice in the screenshot, it has the option of book or ebook. This new Discover product will automatically pull in search results from e-content providers such as Overdrive, Hoopla, Access 360, and many more. So with a single search interface, we're better serving both the physical print material patron, we'll call them, and the e-material patron. Or, there's those patrons that happen to flip-flop between the two preferences as well. Vega Discover also has enhanced content about authors. As you can see here, it has a brief bio on Margaret Atwood, her photo, links to other resources and books that she's written. Perhaps you enjoyed a book from a particular author. Well, Discover can help you find other material by that same author that you may not have been aware of. Vega Discover also has enhanced record content with series information. Now, patrons will easily be able to see the order of books in a series to help them find more to read. This enhanced content also links together materials with the same fictitious characters, or real people, and topics if you like. How many times have you started searching for something online, and before you knew it, you went down a rabbit hole and suddenly found some other interests that you didn't even realize existed? The types of things that get you watching like a YouTube video on how to repair a dishwasher when all you were doing was researching models you don't even own the dishwasher. Maybe not the best example, but this is what we call serendipitous discovery. And we want to bring that type of discovery to library patrons to help them find their next great read and expand their interests. Also, this product contains some great features for promoting literacy development. It has the ability to search materials by Lexile measure, accelerated reader, or simply by age and grade level. So if you're a parent looking for material for your children and you want to find what's best for your kid's reading level, it helps foster that love of reading. And of course, in turn, we hope the love of libraries among the next generation. So now that we have a replacement product in the works for our online catalog, let's take a look at the new innovative mobile app coming soon. This will be a Buckles app in both the Android and iOS, the Apple app stores, available for most smartphones. It's fully customizable per branch to provide specific branding and information to the patron once they log in. One feature is the ISBN scan and search, where patrons can simply scan the barcode on the back of a book that they may discover. Let's say they're at a bookstore and there's something of interest. They can scan that barcode on the back, search the catalog and borrow the item from their local library instead of purchasing the book. It'll also be able to utilize GPS positioning from the patron's cell phone, if they enable that feature, to show them the nearest local library in the membership. It'll provide that great Vega Discover searching capability with digital ebook records that we talked about before and downloadable content, right alongside the print material. Also, libraries will be able to take advantage of curbside service built into this app. So if they want to provide curbside or carside pickup of materials as an option, they can do that here. This was something that many libraries started to offer throughout the pandemic, but there was no unified app across the organization to really make it happen in a streamlined way. This app fixes all of that. So here's just a quick list of some of the features of this app that really sold us on the product. First of all, Innovative, the company that makes it, handles the submitting of the application of the app to all of the app stores. That's a lot of work. It's a very difficult process to get things approved. They handle that for us, which is wonderful. They provide a single interface for updating information for each member library view of the app, and that in turn makes management a lot easier. It'll have push notifications. So this ability, this will give them the ability to provide another method of notifying patrons and alerting them that items are available for pickup, need to be renewed, or perhaps if their card is expiring. We wanted to make sure it had multilingual support within the app, and this one does. It supports searching in the native vernacular. If you weren't aware, we have quite a large collection of Korean, Chinese, Russian, many more materials in some of our libraries. We wanted to make sure this material was searchable and requestable. Multilingual support for push notifications and alerts was important as well. And of course, since we are a consortia, we wanted to make sure the app would support custom logos, themes, links for social networking sites and news feeds, all the stuff specific to each individual member library so that they can make the most use of this app. And of course, the smartphone camera integration feature that I mentioned before is a nice feature to have as well. So let's take a look at the upcoming timeline for these two projects. For Vega Discover, our replacement to the existing online catalog, the test site just launched last week, and we'll be working with the tech committee throughout June to provide feedback on the development, help prioritize that development and other needs to the people making the product. Then it will be released to directors and staff to obtain feedback about the product, followed by a soft launch to patrons, we're hoping in August. We'll likely have an option on the top of our existing catalog that says, try our new online catalog, with a link that will send them over to this new platform. This would give patrons the ability to choose to try the new platform and hopefully give us some useful feedback in the process. Then looking at the mobile app, we just finished supplying a lot of information to the developer. As you can imagine, there's a lot of things that need to be customized with that per branch. And they're working on launching a test version soon. Should be any week now. And after that, tech committee will work with us in looking over the views of the app, and we'll make any final customizations requested by the member libraries before it launches. We're also hoping an August timeframe. If these two things weren't big enough, and I'm not going to go into great detail on these other items, we're also working on different Vega modules with the developer that include an Amazon Alexa skill, so that your voice-controlled Amazon Alexa speakers can notify you when your books are available for pickup. Or you can simply ask Alexa, does my library have this book? And great, place a hold for it. Other patron engagement tools are also in the works, such as online chatbots that will be able to assist patrons any time of the day, and a brand new newsletter and email campaign tool that will enable libraries to create interest group topics so patrons can receive emails more catered to their interests from their local library. So in terms of ROI, there's the dollar savings, but there's also these amazing benefits that you get by being a member of Buckles, because we have these great agreements with innovative development partnerships and these great technology products coming out soon. The last section I wanted to talk about has to do with some of the available tech for member libraries. As I mentioned earlier, we provide managed PCs, iPads, and network infrastructure for our libraries. We save on volume purchasing for hardware and software, but we also make things easy to manage for the libraries with consistent billing and scheduled upgrades. Let's take a look at what I mean. We have what's called the PC service contract. You may have heard about this before, and here's how it works. The initial purchase of a computer includes the first 2 years of service contract. All software licensing fees, security software, that's all included for the first 2 years. Then, starting year 3 and on, there's an annual PC service contract that's charged per PC. This fee covers the ongoing costs for software licensing, maintenance, and support. It even includes the salaries of the IT support technicians that work here at Buckles that support these systems. Additionally, the libraries don't need to worry about PC lifecycle replacements and planning for when the PCs reach old age. It's all coordinated through Buckles. So libraries continue to pay a PC service contract, and they get new computers every 5 years so that they stay current on technology. They don't have to have their own IT support on staff or pay expensive fees to third parties to provide on-call support for machines that they have to manage on their own. It's this one-stop shopping at Buckles where we provide computers at a discounted price, take care of negotiations, plan the life cycle, and have centralized IT expertise shared among all the member libraries that made these types of services so popular. To date, we have approximately 1,400 computers throughout all of the member libraries that we support. Also, with 84 library locations, 84 buildings, that's 84 firewalls that we support, over 100 network switches, over 100 iPads so far, which we only launched a year or so ago. And we're also exploring other optional services that we might start offering next year to bring even more value to our member libraries. Just a few years ago, we launched MeScan, which is a combination of a self-check app for use by patrons on their own phones and devices, as well as an in-person kiosk for checking out materials at the library. Self-check, or checkout kiosks, have become very popular in recent years. You tend to see them everywhere, from grocery stores to Target and Home Depot. Even if you may not be a fan, they're here to stay. And patron use of these kiosks has only increased since we launched them. Nearly every library has taken advantage of these self-check kiosks since we were able to negotiate significant savings by licensing this product as an entire organization. Here's a few pictures of what they look like. They consist of an iPad in a docked frame with a built-in barcode scanner underneath. Patrons simply scan items to check them out, and then they can either be emailed a receipt or they can receive a printed copy of a receipt right at the kiosk. It even has support for those libraries that are using RFID with pad type readers, so patrons can check out an entire armful of books in one step. Some other software products that we've licensed for the organization include Envisionware PC Reservation. This product allows libraries to control the amount of time patrons can use public computers for internet access, making sure that everyone receives a fair amount of time. It also helps provide usage statistics on the number of unique patrons per week, per month, per year. Statistics are always good to show value and use in libraries. LibCal is a product we were able to license for the entire organization that helped us create a unified online calendar of events. In addition, of course, to each library having their own calendar of events just for their building. What this means is that a patron can search the calendar for all events happening on, let's say, Thursday night that happen to be for children across the entire consortia. Constant Contact, the next one on this list, was a system-wide purchase several years back to provide patron promotional mailings, newsletters, campaigns, things like that, to increase patron engagement with the libraries. Almost every library uses this product for their email newsletters, and we're hoping the new Vega Promote module that we're helping to develop with Innovative will eventually replace this product with an even more robust solution. We hope it will make it easier for the libraries to communicate with their patrons, and also for the patrons to be able to specify their interests and have mailings catered right to what interests them. And that leaves Google Workspace. Google Workspace, we were able to negotiate to become a Google-supported nonprofit organization, which means our G Suite and Gmail accounts are a donation. It's a donated product from Google. With nearly 1,600 email accounts that we all share, this saves us approximately $115,000 each year on licensing costs. These accounts are available for all member libraries and their library staff. Plus, we recently started offering the ability for libraries to use their own domain name and brand their email accounts accordingly. So, for example, libraries no longer have to have an email address with library.buckles.org in the address. If they like, it could be at allendalelibrary.org or at bergenfieldlibrary.org, for example, which might dovetail nicely with their own library websites and branding. So I'm going to pass it back to Dave to discuss our next important service, eBuckles.
Thanks, Eric. And I just want to take a moment before we get any buckles to tell you, every time we survey directors, every time we survey staff, every time we survey trustees, one of the top services we hear about that they really do love is our managed IT. And so I just know what you've seen is just a drop in the bucket of the kinds of work that Eric and his team do. And so just know that that's something that is valued across the consortia. The last sort of service we're going to talk about is eBuckles. And this is the ebook, the shared ebook platform. Now, some of you have Hoopla, some of you have Canopy, some of you have other things that we can, that you can use at the individual level, but everybody has access to the shared account. Now, I will tell you, we thought about money so much that we kind of made an error here in the first bullet point. We have 30,000 titles supported with $170,000 in last year. So it's not 30,000 supported by 170. I would say that's not a value proposition at all. However, it is 30,000 titles supported through 170,000 that we spend. We do have a shared e-magazine collection that's really robust. It's been growing actually in double digits this past year. We spent about $55,000 on it. The platform allows not just us to have a corporate collection for Buckles, it also allows for every library that wants to, and we have some libraries that don't, but almost all of our libraries are Advantage members, which means you can have your own collection that is shared across this platform as well. But in that Advantage collection, if you buy materials, your patrons at your library get first crack. So a couple of years ago, Becoming was really popular. So if you bought a copy of Becoming and you had a patron who was on a holds list, they went straight to the top of that list to get your copy. So people do take advantage of the Advantage collection. Now, this is a stat, this last one, I think is something that every trustee should know and every trustee should understand. We are currently in the midst of looking at our e-content. We have an e-content task force that is working hard to evaluate how we do e-content and hopefully make any recommendation of changes. But as we looked at that, virtually everybody, well, everybody's over 80%, but virtually all of our members get 90% of their e-materials for their patrons from somebody else, either from the corporate collection or from an Advantage collection of another library. That is a tremendous amount of sharing and a tremendous amount of value. And we, it speaks to what the consortium does in terms of sharing with each other and resource sharing being a very missional part of who we are. So we're very excited that we have it. We continue to provide it. It is something that we often hear good things about. I will say again, we've got a task force that's looking at it because we're always trying to improve it. One thing I want to do, make sure, I know you got these things, but I do want to highlight them as well. As a trustees, these are materials you can use. These are what we give your directors. And these are things that I would encourage you to sort of seek out. We talked about the strategic plan. This is the blueprint for how we're working on the big projects we are working on as a group. We have monthly statistics that Eric went over, so you can see how you're doing. Those are always vital. And there's something up front here we call it the wheel. We don't have a great name for it, and I apologize. I wish we had a catchier name for it. But essentially, every month, we release a monthly and a year-to-date on these 5 key things that we do. And these are sort of things that we want the membership to understand. These are sort of our value propositions. They talk about our cataloging. They talk about the support tickets. They talk about how many times the catalog was searched. They talk about delivery. And they talk about the number of professional development. If they sound familiar, it's because they're directly tied to the mission of the organization. And I think that is, it says a tremendous amount for the people who work at Buckles. It says a tremendous amount of the mission of all of our members who have come together to create this. So that brings us to questions. We do remind you, if you have questions, please type them in that Q&A and we'll get to them. We did have a couple of early questions that we're going to get to, and I kind of take them in the order that they were sent to me. And then once we get through those, we're going to work our way through the questions as they came in the chat box. So again, if you have questions, please put them in the Q&A box and we will get to them. So our first question asks how to navigate the minimum financial commitment of the town to keep the library running when they don't want to budget it or they say it would raise town taxes. So on this one, I will just tell you, we have sort of limited ability here. The one thing to remember is, as a member of Buckles, there is a part of the bylaws that requires you to be funded at 1/3 of a mil. Now, we have a couple, if you're a regular municipal library, you have that requirement already. If you're an association library or a different kind of library, you don't have that requirement, but you do have that requirement to be in Buckles. It is part of the Buckles bylaws. So the one thing you do have as a member of Buckles is you are required as this member to have 1/3 of a mil. As for the rest, I can only offer a little bit of advice. I would encourage you to think about value as much as you can in terms of value and not cost. Cost is always going to be something that people talk about, but value is something I think libraries can really talk well of their services on. So that's question number one. Question number two is an interesting one. How do you compare to your competitors? And what is the value proposition that is unique to Buckles? Well, I hope this second part of that question has been answered a little bit in the past 40 minutes as we've walked through some of the things that Buckles does. I will tell you, we do think that there is a unique value proposition to Buckles. If you want to look at very specifics, no other consortium provides delivery service the way we do. There are just a couple of different things here. No one, I think, provides the level of managed IT that we do. There's a lot of very high-touch pieces of Buckles that I think are outstanding. I think that first one is really an interesting question, is how do you compare to your competitors? And so when we often think of competitors, we're like, okay, so how else do I do these things? And sometimes people think our competitors are other consortiums. I'm going to tell you that's probably not true. Let's remember, a consortium is something you join because you feel like-minded, right? There's a reason that you join a group of people, and every group turns out a little different. So if you as a trustee wanted to attend a PALS Plus program or a Maine program or an LMXAC program, or even a login, which is a consortium in the South, you'll find that they all do things a little to a lot different. So I wouldn't think about comparing us exactly to a consortium. If you're really looking at what the competitor is, I go back to the value sheet that we shared, because really what the competitor here is you in the consortium and you out of the consortium, because that's really what that decision comes down to, is what does it look like when I'm in the consortium and what does it look like when I'm out of the consortium? And so the competitor really in this case is you. It's you in and out. And that's how I would always thinking in terms of competition, because it really isn't something where you could exactly go to a different consortium and get exactly what you want or exactly what you've come to believe in as the Buckles way, if you will, because all the consortiums are different and they're all built around whatever the shared understanding is amongst members. So that's question two. Question three, and then we'll get to the questions in the box. How is Buckles representing the interests of its members when they are polarized viewpoints, such as large libraries feeling they are subsidizing small libraries and vice versa? So we talked at the beginning, everybody knows money is a thing we all care about. I mean, I'm sure in your own process at your libraries, you have to come up with a budget every year, and it's something we talk about. So I'm going to start with the macro and kind of go to the micro. I hope you understand that part of that strategic plan, and I emphasize again, outcome number one is ensuring sustainability for both the institution and the member libraries. We take that super seriously. Understand that part of the strategic plan is evaluating the billing formula. That was one of the things that we heard loud and clear, and we're in the midst of doing as well. And so I think there is a constant understanding that we have to be looking at what we're doing and have to be understanding about what we're trying to accomplish and making sure that we are thinking of both sides of that equation. Like I mentioned in 2021, when we looked and we said, this is a really bad year, so we went flat. It was hard to go flat. We were the only consortium that did that, but we felt at the time it was really important. The specific thing that I will tell you in terms of how we are trying to do this is to also understand how Buckles makes its decisions. Buckles is a member-driven organization. What that means is that our budget has to be approved every year, but Buckles is unique in that it requires a 2/3 majority to pass the budget. which means if everybody's there, it's 52 people. But what that also means is 28 people, 27, 20, what is it? 20, anyway, it's about 26 people, 28 people. Is that right, Eric? I can't do math right now in the late day. It takes a very small amount of people, less than a majority, to stop anything from happening, right? And so as we think about this, it's 26. It's 51 and 26.
Yes, 26. Yep.
26. So when we talk about the decisions that we make, and when we talk about trying to make sure we're representing the viewpoints of as many people as we can, just understand that our budgets and all the decisions that we really make of significance are really 2/3 majority decisions. And I will tell you, in terms of the products and the budgets that we buy, it's really rare that we get close to that 2/3. We're really much higher for most of the things that we decide. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't have folks who are voting against things and do not feel like they're on the right side of that vote. Certainly doesn't happen all the way, but just understand that's a really high bar. And so one of the ways that we try to make sure that everybody's part of that process is just to understand how high a bar it is to pass a budget. So that's how we do it. We, again, outcome one. I cannot emphasize that enough. All right, let's go to the box. First question up. Let's see. If a patron requests a book from a non-fine-free library and the home library is fine-free, a fine is still collected but not remitted to the library that book comes from, that is confusing for the patron and does not promote seamless interlibrary lending. Why is this policy in effect? So it's a little maybe beyond what we're talking about today, but we'll go ahead and I'll quickly say, again, we are a consortium of member libraries who vote on things. When we vote on policies and procedures, we are a group that has protected the idea that you can have fines in your libraries. And as long as you're protecting that, that's going to be part of the deal. For the people on both sides, they have different feelings on that. I don't know that we have consensus to change that anytime soon, but that's really why that is occurring. All right. All right.
I think this next one is for me. Is the Vega app available for Kindle on their app store? Presumably it's on the Apple App Store. So Kindle, that's a two-part question, really. There's two types of Kindles. There are paper Kindles, which generally don't have any app support for side loading of apps or an app store. They're the ones that kind of look like newspaper, that kind. And then there are Kindles that are really tablets that run some type of Android operating system that you can actually get the Google Play Store on. So the answer is, if it's one of the Kindles that's really more of a tablet with a color screen, as long as you can go into the Google Play Store on there, then you should be able to access the Buckles app, the Vega app in there. But if it's a Paperwhite Kindle, not on those, unfortunately.
Great. Can we get a value added in the new package? We get maybe it's an updated value for 2022. I'm going to guess.
I'm thinking that has to do with a revision to the consortium value report now that we're looking at this whole Vega package as well. And,
sure.
That would be coming. We generally update that each year. And all of these, the Vega Discover, the mobile app, all of this has happened within the year. So it's very, very fresh.
Bergen County is a livable, age-friendly county. Can we develop a 60+ link on the Buckles website to support this demographic? Again, a little out of scope for what we're talking about today, but we will definitely take it to the adult services group and see what they have to say. So, what to do if your town does not want to fund? So the required amount means closing on more days and less times. So I think we talked a little bit this. We had another question kind of on the similarity thing. And I want to just say, we understand that we have a number of folks who face hard times within their own municipalities. And so what we understand is the municipality is part of your process, and you as a library board are part of the advocating process. You know, we can require certain things for membership, which we do, and that's the 1/3 of a mil, and you have to have a the three things to kind of remember is 1/3 of a mil. We ask that you have an MLS professional as your director. And the other thing that's interesting and is a little sneaky that might be interesting for the trustees here is you say you qualify for state aid. Now, what's interesting about the qualifying for state aid is if you look at those requirements, they are differentiated by population, right? So for those of you looking to advocate and say, hey, you know, this is what happens if you cut certain things. You may still give us the mill, but you're going to cut certain things like nighttime hours. Like, believe it or not, nighttime hours are part of qualification for state aid. Now, they've been a little loosey-goosey during the pandemic because, well, it was the pandemic. But I do expect in 2023, after discussing this with the state library, that they're going to be a renewed interest in those things. So if anybody has interest, if you think that will help your advocating cause, please don't hesitate to reach out and we will figure that out and get it to you to use as an advocacy toolbox thing. Because here's the deal. If you're in a library and so they want to cut and take away it, if they take away too much, you will lose your state aid. Now, currently, for depending on what you are, that's just kind of the way it kind of goes. But in terms of the size of dollars, but it does mean something, I think, when you go and you tell your folks, hey, if we don't do this, we're going to actually lose money. And losing money is not something folks want to do. All right. We got a response back. Was it the value? Yes. Is why is the fine for even not remitted back to the lending library? And fines are only collected from some libraries. So in terms of how fines move back between libraries, that's covered under policy. And so the fine is collected at the library. Most of the libraries work with each other to return monies to each other. One of the ways that you can actually mitigate this is something we do that Eric has talked about, or we did, I don't know how many years ago, but it was, I don't think it's been a while, but it's not been that long, is if you have patrons pay online with a credit card, that money actually goes directly to your home library. It is not collected on site. So it follows where the material is going. You know, one of the things that you can do is, you know, you can really try to work with your partner libraries and see if you can get more people to use a credit card online payment system. If they do pay at the library, again, current policies and procedures, and these are the rules that the members come together and vote on, 2/3, about how they're going to deal with each other. And so that's why that occurs. So yeah, that occurs. And like I said, most member libraries have some kind of way of getting funds back to each other in some form or fashion.
Yeah, I know of several libraries that have gone fine-free that when the time comes where they have to accept a payment for another library's material, they just direct them to the online catalog and say, you know, please pay online because we don't accept cash. We're not, you know, we don't have a cash drawer anymore. So sometimes that's an easier solution.
Sure. But that, and I will stress, that is in the control of the local library per policy and procedure. It's not something that that we have set as a consortium in terms of that's a choice they get to make. So other questions that you might have as we come up here on 7:57 on a Monday, because everybody, I got to tell you, you are a great group. You're very engaged for Monday night at 7. Everybody's work makes them a little logy there late Monday night. But this has been a great group. All right, we're not seeing any more questions. I'm going,
Dave?
yeah.
Excuse me, there is another question that was just added in the Q&A box.
What
Do
is
you
it?
have a list of things and their estimated costs that a library loses when not part of Buckles?
Do we have a list of things and estimated costs that the library loses when not part of Buck? So, I guess so here's how I'm gonna answer this question. I'm gonna assume that this, this means that you have loaned it through the state system to somebody else and they did not return your material. Because when not part of Buckles. List of their estimating loses when not part, or is this a philosophical question?
That's the way I interpreted it, that
Of a list of it that a library loses when not part of estimated
If you
cost.
want to unmute the person who typed it.
Yeah, we do actually.
Wendy?
This is the value proposition handout.
Right. Okay.
Their estimated cost of the library. So
Yeah, I want to use it as a tool to convince
Yeah.
the mayor and council, and then to advertise it on the town like Facebook page
Yeah.
or something to tell people these are the things you won't get anymore if we don't support the library. So when we want to do fundraising, we can show people and we can prove to the town, like just the computers alone,
Right.
so if we have all that list that you showed us and a monetary guesstimate of it that we can use as a tool to go before the town and say, this is the more money we need if you don't give us that money in order to be part of Buckles.
Absolutely. So see how I'm not very techie. I'm not as techie as Eric. So I'm holding up a piece of paper. This consortium value report, I can't say enough about. This is why we do it every year, because it literally tells you what it's going to cost you to get the same service without us. And it literally
And will
tells
our
you,
librarian have that report?
yeah, in fact, you
Okay.
should, as an attendee tonight, I believe, Darlene, I'm correct, you sent the wheel and the value and the strategic plan to everybody, right?
correct, and
Yeah,
along with a
so-
copy of your presentation and
Right.
Eric's.
So Wendy, is it Wendy? Yeah. Wendy, you should have this in your inbox. If you don't, please just email us back. It's real simple. We'll get it back to you. But yeah, we do that every year because it is really, it's an important thing to know. I know we're expensive. I get that. I do. But that's when we talk about, and I go back to that question about who's your competitor. It's not really a competitor. It's really about what am I as a standalone and what am I as part of a consortium? Because that's really the only kind of competitive solution or situation for analysis that exists. I mean, you can join another consortium, but it's not apples to apples because once, if every consortium has their thing, they all have things that you're going to have to accept. They all have different things that might cause a board concern. So it's consortia are not a straight comparison, but thinking about what it is to be outside of the consortium and what it is to be inside of the consortium are huge things. One thing Eric didn't even mention that I will tell you, most directors, is we carry cyber liability insurance, right? Which is not a small thing today. It is not a small thing today. And I know in talking with directors about that, that was one of the things that they've often said is a real big deal. So I hope that answers that question. But yes, if you don't find it, Wendy, please email Eric, me, Dave at buckles.org. We will get that right to you so you can get that to your folks. All right?
Dave,
Yeah,
we have another question.
another one.
Does Buckles do any advocacy work with mayors and councils on behalf of member libraries?
So part of our mission statement is the uniqueness of our member libraries. And historically, it is sort of understood that the relationship with the mayor and council is the local library relationship. That being said, we are more than willing to show up whenever you need us. If you're going to go talk to your mayor, I would tell you, and you want us to be there to talk a little bit about the value or to tell the kind of story that you think might help, we are more than willing. I show up at many of the board meetings. Whenever I have a director who says, please show up, we'll show up and make sure we can answer all those questions. I mean, we serve the membership, and that's part of the way we serve the membership. We don't do direct advocacy to the folks. We will do direct advocacy usually at a county level, and we do participate in some state level advocacy of big library goals, but we don't on our own do anything. But if you would like us to, we certainly are available for that. Let's see. Do you know most libraries select new? Do you know most libraries select new members of the town library committee? Do we know how most libraries select new members of the town library committee? So they are appointed. And Adele, you can make sure I don't get this wrong. They are appointed by the mayor. And I'm going to tread carefully. I believe people normally sort of intimate to the mayor's office that they would be interested in library board work. And that's kind of the way it's done. There are a couple. The mayor has a seat on the board. The school director or the director of schools, superintendent, I guess is what you call them out here. They have a seat on the board, and then the rest are mayoral appointees that last for, is it 3 years?
I believe it's 5.
5.
5 in our
5
town.
years. Well, that's 5. So there you go. It's 5 years. So in terms of trying to get people on the town library, Adele, do you have any sage wisdom on this subject?
It depends on the town, it depends on the mayor, but if you know someone who is interested in serving on the library board, they should approach the mayor's office and maybe just send a letter and their reason for wishing to be on the board.
Great. So there you go. All right, I'm going to give it a second here. See if we get another question. All right. Seeing no more questions, I'm going to turn it over to the affable Tom to take us home.
Thank you, Dave. My name is Tom Madrew. I'm the co-chairman of the Trustee Development Committee, along with Caitlin Hull. And I want to thank both you, Dave, and Erica for a wonderful program. One of the things that's missing in a Zoom or Google meeting is that you can't get a round of applause. So cheers from me representing everyone for a fine job. Thank you. Thank you all also for coming. I do have a couple of administrative notes I'd like to pass along. First of all, as Eric has put up here, please complete your evaluation, which will be emailed to you. The evaluations are extremely important to us because this is how we decide what we should make programs on. You give us the information you want to hear, you praise the things you like, you let us know what you don't like, so we can put together programs that we want you to enjoy and to get information from. So the evaluations are very, very important to us. So please fill them out. Also, I'd like to remind you, this is you receive hours credit for this meeting for towards your hour requirements that you have as a board. Those will be emailed to you in approximately 2 weeks, and you can give them to your director to show that you have added a couple of hours to the 7-hour requirement. A reminder, this has been recorded, and you will find out how to access that recording if you wish to listen to it again or to share it with others who may not have been able to attend tonight. And also to remind you that all of the slides and all the presentation visuals you have seen have been emailed to you previously. So I'd also like to mention 2 programs one is we're in the midst of doing and one that's coming up soon. If you're interested, you can join. One is a Google introductory training course. It's an 8-course series, but they're all kind of mutually exclusive. You don't have to join one to join the others. As a matter of fact, one has already occurred. There are 7 more in the series. They're every Monday at 10 o'clock through a Google link, through Eventbrite. I don't know if I said that terribly correctly, but either Eric or Darlene, you can clean that up for me if I said something there.
You said it fine, Tom.
Thank you. Get once in a while. And also the one that's important, another one is one that's on your screen right now. It's provided by our Diverse and Underserved Population Committee. It's a truly safe space, cultural literacy, First Amendment muscle. This is geared to the LGBTQ community. We have 2 attorneys who will be speaking at this presentation on June 21st from 7 to 8:30 p.m. We encourage you to participate in that and hear what they have to say. I have nothing more at this point, but once again, to thank you very much. Please have a great evening. Enjoy the summer, and we will be meeting again hopefully soon with something exciting for you all. So thank you very much and good night.
One quick, Thomas, yes, if you show the recording, it's an hour of credit for your board of CE credit.
And the trustee should complete an evaluation and let us know their takeaways from the webinar.